Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Issac E. Azevedo. This is Bible, Business, and a Bike, and I'm trying to be the most interesting guy you never met. This is the episode where we ask, what are you waiting for? If you're waiting for the perfect moment to obey God, good luck. He already gave you the green light, but you're still checking the weather. This ride today, it's about movement, because hesitation in the name of strategy is still disobedience. If God already said go, let's ride. Let me ask you something real. What are you waiting for? The market to settle? The relationship to fix itself? The fear to vanish? Watching the wind sounds wise, but is a trap. If you're always waiting for the perfect moment, you'll never sow, and you'll certainly never reap. Ecclesiastes is Solomon looking back in life with brutal honesty, and this verse, it's for the overthinkers, the spreadsheet warriors, the ones who want certainty before obedience. The one who watches the wind, that's the one who studies risk so long that they miss the planting season. The one who looks at the clouds, that's the leader who stares at all the reasons not to act and ends up with nothing to show. Solomon's point, you cannot reap a harvest from a field you never had the faith to sow. God often tells you to move before the wind settles. In fact, he may stir up the wind just to see what kind of faith you have. You know where this hit me? When I was sitting on Jonah Vale, Save and Thrive for months, studying, planning, praying, refining, while God was saying go. But I kept watching the wind. What if the money's not there? What if the people don't get it? What if the first launch fails? But what if it doesn't? Eventually, I had to stop worshiping my idea of readiness and trust that God planted the seed and he'll send the rain. So let me ask you again, what are you waiting for? Because in business, just like in faith, if you delay your obedience, you may miss your harvest. And in the next few miles, I'm going to show you what that looks like from a leadership lens, how I had to unlearn perfection and embrace momentum. Let's ride into that. You've probably heard it, done is better than perfect, but in the kingdom, obedient is better than perfect. We've been taught that good leaders move when the data makes sense, when it's clean, when the market's ready, and when the ROI makes sense. But if you're building something that actually matters, something redemptive, you won't get perfect clarity before you launch. God doesn't need your polish, he wants your yes. My years in corporate taught me to always have the answers. If you didn't have the answers, there was someone else who would. So here's the trap I fell into, and maybe you're in it too. You call it planning, you call it wisdom, you call it prudence, but really, you're afraid to move. You want the perfect homepage, the ideal Instagram feed, the airtight offer, the right partners, the dream clients. And because you don't have them yet, you wait, you tweak, you rebrand, you pray about it again. But if God already told you to move, you're not praying, you're stalling. I wasted months, and in one season, years perfecting instead of planting. Obedience in business sometimes means shipping before you feel ready. That's where redemptive margin lives. in the tension between readiness and surrender. Now I want to get tactical for a second. You need 3 things to break the cycle of perfection. Clarity of purpose, not what will people think, but what did God assign me to do. Lean action model, build the minimum viable, faithful product. That's your version of the MVP. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be true. Post-action reflection. You don't wait to evaluate, you act and then you just. If you're trying to launch a faith-based business and everything's still in Google Docs and prayer journals, it's time to move. You can't steer a parked car. God can do more with your obedience and motion than your planning in neutral. I've learned this the hard way many times, especially when I thought I was being faithful by waiting. Turns out I was just scared of being seen failing out loud. And in the next stretch, I want to tell you a personal story. One of the closest calls I had with letting fear cancel my assignment. So let's ride into that. This one's not easy to share, but if it helps even one person start, then it's worth it. There was a season where I had everything lined up on paper. The pitch deck was clean, the team was aligned, and the funding was in view, but I didn't move. Not because I didn't believe in the mission, but because I didn't believe I wouldn't fail. There was a Monday morning, I remember it clearly. I opened my laptop to launch something I had prayed for, built for, sacrificed for, and I froze. The voice in my head said, what if nobody shows up? What if they laugh at how basic it looks? What if this tarnishes your reputation? So I did what perfectionists do when they fear whispers in professional language. I opened a blank doc titled Launch Refinement Plan. You know what that really was? Disobedience in disguise. But I didn't know it then. I also didn't know that God had already cleared the path. I was the only one standing in the way. So fast forward, here's what saved me. That same night I read Ecclesiastes 11:4, and it hit me like a gut punch. The one who watches the wind will not sow. I realized then that I'd been waiting on conditions instead of trusting the caller. I spiritualized fear by calling it wisdom. I wasn't protecting my purpose, I was postponing it. So the next morning I hit record. It wasn't perfect, but it was faithful. And that first imperfect launch led to conversations, clients, restoration, and peace. But peace didn't come before I acted. It came the moment I obeyed. So maybe you're standing in front of something right now, a business, a book, a podcast, a tough conversation, and you're telling yourself, it's not ready. I get it. But if God told you to go, the only thing not ready is your trust. Start where you are, launch what you have, move with what you know, let God meet you in motion. Let's close this ride strong. Here's what I know. You don't need another checklist. You need movement. So if something hit you today, don't wait. I want you to subscribe right now, not because I need the numbers, but because you need the momentum. And I want you to go to jonahvale.com, even if it's not fully live yet. Bookmark it, save it, write it on your wall. Because when it launches, it's going to be loaded with tools, videos, and biblical business frameworks that I wish I had when I was stuck, watching the wind and waiting on peace. And if you're done waiting, then let this be your line in the sand. Start before the wind settles. Move before it's figured out. Obey before it's safe. You're not too late. You're just now ready. I'm Isaac. This is Bible, Business, and a Bike, and I'll see you on the next ride.